Yo guys, what's up? Yes, finally. I finally remembered to do the last part of the Imperial Germany saga. Well, I'm not saying it's going to be the last part. I'm just saying this is going to be an important part for the series cuz this is part 4B. Um if you remember, Italy, France, Britain, and Spain all just went to war with the rest of the countries in the war. Here's the alliance map. So yeah, this is pretty crazy. Not gonna lie. So let's just hop into it. Oh yeah, the Netherlands is also in here. So Germany is now fighting a two-front war, which is never good. But they will manage to push through the Netherlands pretty quickly, just because there's a lot of Germans who live here from the last time. But the edge will be trickier to take. They also managed to push in through parts of Belgium and a little bit of Alsace. Oh, nope. A little bit of Alsace. And then, but Italy is for once going to show that it can do anything, and will actually manage to push through southern Austria and connect up to its part in this Bohemian country. Now Germany will begin to show signs of fatigue against Ukraine, as they'll continue to push through, as well as pushing back Italy partly. And Prussia will also be slightly weakened in their attack. Meanwhile, Britain is going to go for a landing in Denmark, and it will go pretty well, managing to take over this eastern part. And Sweden will also make strides here, as well as conquering this island. But Germany now hands this land over to Prussia, and they manage to take back a land, as well as working together with the Lithuanian German state to take over the rest of Swedish Latvia. So, anyways, Germany will manage to push into parts of southern Tyrol and manage to cut off this region, as well as Ukraine taking back the rest of this area. And Germany will, for the first time ever, manage to not lose violently to the Ukrainians. Like, that's incredible. Prussia will also make strides here. And Ukraine's like, alright, how about we reach a separate peace? That's not going to work this time. Okay, so Poland is going to try and push through to the sea to cut off this Prussian area, but that's not going to go so well for them, as these guys managed to get pinched. So they're going to have to make a desperate retreat back south, and they actually do manage to get out, but not without great losses. Meanwhile, Lithuania is going to push towards parts of Poland, and Poland is actually almost at capitulation at this point. Prussia manages to take this area, and at this point, Poland is going to surrender. So the occupation for Poland is going to look something like this. But down south, there's going to be rebel fighters still fighting on. They're going to join up with the Ukrainians. So Poland has died yet again. Tragic, I know. Okay, let's go back to Denmark. Yay, Denmark. Okay, so Britain is cut Denmark in two, and they're almost able to fight Sweden, and they're actually going to manage to take back Sweden. Meanwhile, Britain is going to try and make a landing in the northern Netherlands, but Germany's going to put a stop to that, and they're actually going to push these Dutch forces to joining up with the French armies. But that doesn't go so well for them, because Germany's also pushing through the French defenses in Belgium. They never learn. So this is how the front lines are going to almost stabilize, except for down south with Ukraine and Italy. These guys, this is kind of going. So Austria manages to get fully liberated, as does this, I guess, Bohemia. Prussia is going to manage to take back and push them over to here. But this isn't all well and good because Denmark has officially fallen to Britain, as well as this island. Now Britain is going to make a push into Hanover and northern Netherlands. So Germany is going to have to make a decision. Will they continue fighting this multi-front war, or will they super peace on other sides to attempt to take down the British? They're going to hold a meeting with their 3 core allies. With their 2 allies that are left, Prussia and Lithuania. And they're going to agree that the war with Ukraine needs to stop. So, they're going to put together a peace deal, but not after some more strives towards this Hungarian country. So, we're going to talk about this more later, but in general, Ukraine will be allowed to keep all of its own territory, but they will lose influence over the Hungarian country, and it will be restored to independence. And then Poland will be decided at a later date. They're going to agree with that, so they're going to pull out of this country, and that just leaves Romania, who's going to immediately back out of the war and say, yep, you can do that. So, officially, Ukraine is out of the war. They're still going to be held a stake in the negotiations over Poland, but it's not looking too good for their prospects. So, we're going to move down to Italy, where Germany is going to try much of the same thing, which it means cutting them off from this area and trying to force a surrender on them. But it's not going to work this time, because Italy's actually going to manage to push back a little bit. I mean, seriously, Italy didn't fail this time. And they're not going to go down without a fight, but the front lines are being destabilized. So that's good. Finally, in France. France finally manages to do something of worth. I know, crazy. And so, now Germany can... But Germany still thinks that they can divert some forces from this front line, as long as they keep the important areas defended, notably leaving this gap in the line that the French might take advantage of, and pulling those forces out to help defend Denmark. So, it's going to start with a slow and methodical push up through Hanover and Holstein, managing to break through into northern Holstein, as well as this island being retaken. And I completely forgot, Sweden is still happening. Okay, wait. Yeah, they were in this alliance that is almost completely folded. So Prussia and Lithuania are gonna go ham on this thing. I don't think that's a phrase. Go hammin'? I don't know. So, we have here this destruction of the Swedish northern armies. And Britain's also going to join in on the fun, because why not, man? It's free real estate. Norway, even. Because I don't think they're in the... Yeah, Norway is going to try and push back against Swedish oppression, and they managed to take back a lot of territory that was stolen away. Now, Finland's going to have a similar idea, but they're not going to be able to muster up much strength. Oh. So they're only going to manage to push back slightly, mostly because this is pretty uninhabited territories. Okay, now we can focus on the main thing. Germany versus Britain. I feel like it happens like this every time. Whatever. Okay, so. Oh, Greenland. I forgot about you. I guess this is just the Danish government in exile. Yeah, we can go with that. So the Danish government in exile is still in Greenland, and they're basically, Germany is telling them that, yeah, don't worry, you're gonna be just right. Just fine. Okay, so the French, they're gonna send a lot of support to Britain, but not before they realize that Belgium is seeming a little bit underdefended in this region, and they can actually make a major breakthrough. This pushes a lot of forces. The Germans are struggling, but not struggling enough, because they're managed to take back most of Denmark from the British, And Prussia will also hop on hop on the bandwagon and take away whatever was left of the British holdings in Sweden, as well as just more Sweden, because why not? Now, so Britain is going to offer a peace deal. If they let Britain back out of the war, Germany can keep the Netherlands, do whatever they want with it. Denmark becomes a full ally of Germany again, and Britain leaves the war unscathed. This sounds like a good deal for Germany. Will they take it or not? Will they allow for the British to continue on all alone without any allies and for the taking later on? Or will they take the gamble on finishing them off now? The choice, they reject the offering. The British forces are pushed out of Denmark, and an attempted landing on the coast of Britain is made. It starts off small, just a couple of minor forces invasions, but the British can't fully repel it. They push it back to the edge, but it goes up north and sweeps around the forces and circles them. This part of Britain, it's fallen to the Germans. It's even worse in France. All those gains they made get pushed back. But the German line can only be stretched so far before it breaks. And it's about to. This is the rough outline of the front line of the war in France. They have less forces down south because they don't think it'll be as necessary. Meanwhile, France has a pretty even distribution. Meanwhile, in Britain, there's a lot of forces here. They're putting a lot of effort into that, as well as some reinforcements that need to be called from Denmark and the Netherlands. So and Britain has most of the navy and army. They're trying to form a blockade. These are the relative troop areas. And France is going to hope for one last push into the Alsace area. They make this leap in order. They know that this is the last time they have a shot at defeating the Germans and stopping supremacy from ruling again. They attempt a spearhead formation to encircle the German forces. In Alsace, the Germans surrender. These German forces. Over here, in southern Belgium, they hold out for a lot longer, and it managed to escape later on. But the worst damage had been done. Many of their best soldiers had been defeated. Meanwhile, in Britain, the German forces maintain a steady foothold. They're not going anywhere. But down in Italy, this could be the turning point for the war. Another front on French soil would be devastating if the Germans could simply make it to the other border. So they make the push. Tyrol is retaken. Italy is severely weakened. Rebellions in Sardinia start popping up. Pro-German. They are, of course, squashed by the government because they're far away from any of their German allies, but the worst damage had been done. Italy had to take away forces from the front line up north, which allowed for more German breakthroughs. Eventually, they almost reached the border, where the worst fighting of the war would ensue. For months, brutal trench warfare would consume this area of Italy. But Italy would persevere. They managed to prevent the worst of the attacks and held them off for just a little bit longer. Now we move on to Sweden. Sweden had finally been partitioned. This would be the end of the Great Northern Empire, as it was known. And this is what Sweden's partition looks like. It's severely weakened, and it's been shattered into multiple fragments, but it still exists, even if under heavy German and Prussian influence. Although that might all change after the war. Looking at this, France is going to work on trying to take back this lost Belgian land, but it's progressing very slowly. Their major breakthrough was pretty impressive, but it might not continue that way. So, Britain is going to try and push the Germans out of the mainland. And they finally push them back to just one port city up here. And they're going to make a desperate invasion, a desperate escape out by sea. They're going to make it all the way here to the Netherlands. And then they're going to get destroyed. What was this from? From the Dutch Revolt. The Dutch have come back for like the 50th time. This is ridiculous. It finally came back, like it always does. It always comes back. Alright, William. Alright. So, they managed to take back major parts of the north, but the south is still mostly unmoved, you could say. Meanwhile, the British finally take back parts of Hanover. And this might look like the beginning of the end for the Germans. So, desperately, they try and work out a peace deal with Poland. But Prussia has had enough. They've gotten everything they could have wanted from this war. So they say, hey, France and Britain, if you don't kill me, I'll leave the war. How's that sound? And they take them up on that bet. Prussia is out of the war. Germany is so screwed. Like, it's just done. So, they're going to work out a peace deal to divide up Poland, and we'll see how that looks. And here is what Poland looks like after the peace deal. This is pretty crazy. Ukraine is still massive. It even grew in size. Like, that's incredible. Poland somehow still exists. Like, for the first time ever, it didn't die after a war. That's gotta be a record. 2 wars in a row without ceasing existence, like, that's something. At least for Poland. Okay, now we can focus on the good part. Germany has no options left. They give in to the rebels in the Netherlands. They allow them full independence in exchange for leaving the war. They're going to take that offer. Like, what are they going to do? Not take that offer. Like, the whole point of the Dutch Revolt was that they win the war. And was that they wouldn't have to suffer a German. That map is horribly out of date. Hold on. Yeah, the whole point of the war was so that they wouldn't have to suffer under German aggression. And if they're out of that, they don't need to fight the Germans. Okay. Now France. France is the big problem. They almost managed to take back all of what was left of Belgium. But the Germans managed to push them back and get them almost into a stalemating position. It's looking like it might not go anywhere from here. So Germany is going to offer a deal. In exchange for the liberation of Belgium as a French vassal, Germany will leave France alone. That is the best offer France has ever heard. Like, oh my gosh, what? Okay, so we have the French vassal here. He's going to be bluer than that. All right, yep. So we have French Belgium. And there it is. France is out of the war. Whew, that's something. So yeah, Germany has been significantly reduced, but they still exist. That is a major bonus. They also look kind of funny right now, but not gonna lie. That. Okay. Now finally Britain. They have a simple demand. Hanover. And like, what's Germany gonna do? Not give them Hanover? Like, they are in no bargaining position. They just want to get out of this war, except for Italy. They're gonna keep fighting Italy. So they give Britain Hanover, and that's that. The main war in the West is over, and Germany somehow is only a little bit murdered. Meanwhile, down south, yeah, Italy might be fried. Not gonna lie, they got cut off in the north. And then, so now we have a different country of Sardinia. There's gonna be a Sardinian revolt that tries to break away up north. Sardinia, Piedmont. That's gonna take hold over here, and in Sardinia, these guys are gonna be pretty pro-German. So that's not really anything that Italy can do about that. So Italy just surrenders to Germany. Like, they're the only member of the main party they're the only member of the West that lost the war. Oh yeah, and Spain. I guess they were just sending supplies. I don't know. So Germany takes a big chunk out of Italy. So does Sardinia. They're also gonna try and levy for Corsica joining into Sardinia, but France might not be so willing for that. And Italy barely exists. Like, they just got completely obliterated, but I guess that happens sometimes. And just like that, the war is over. I don't know why I made it de-escalate so quickly. That was really anticlimactic. I'm really bad at pacing, aren't I? So, in the end, what did we learn? We learned that as long as you know how to diplomacy your way out of anything, you don't have to lose the war that you're losing. That's not a good lesson. Why did I make this video about that? I don't know. And of course, long-awaited Danish independence. Woo! Yay! Denmark exists. Okay, and I think that's... Oh, I forgot to mention this. There's this Latvian-ish country that's basically just part of... Actually, you know what? Hold up. We should make this a darker color. Yeah, it's basically just part of Livonia. So yeah, this is part of Livonia. It's just kind of separate. Okay, and that's going to wrap up the big war. The big war of the two-parter episode. I've been recording for half an hour. Denmark still keeps Greenland somehow. Oh. Hold up. I forgot that we actually have the Danish color. Okay. And yep, that is going to wrap it up. I literally have not touched the Balkan at all. Like, these guys might as well just not exist. I'm just kidding. Actually, no, I'm not just kidding. Hold up. Okay. Nah, that's stupid. That would be really funny, though. Okay. Anyways, that's going to wrap up this video. I should let you know the Balkan will have no significance to the series ever. Like, just, we can control X all of that. Alright, and that's gonna wrap it up. Goodbye.